Welcome back to The Watch. And oh my gosh, I just watched Wheel of Time episode 4, but this time I didn't watch it alone. I had some additional help. On top of my wife, I was joined by the man NERDROTIC himself.
Hello.
Gary!
I like to share in the pain and the misery that you have gone through, even though I know nothing about the books, but objectively, that was terrible.
That was awful. That was your first time seeing any Wheel of Time episode.
Aside from the midnight release, the Rights one with Billy Zane.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that, and that is Shakespeare compared to what I just watched. Now, I did jump into the 4th episode of a 2nd season.
I mean, this is the thing though, right? If you were to jump into any episode of, say, House of the Dragon, it would have been a kicking episode still.
Yep.
Like you'll be drawn in by the characters, the intrigue, and the conversations would feel like they have weight and importance to where it's going. This episode had a lot of conversation that meant spit. Nothing.
Nothing. Everything was, it's true modernism. Mm-hmm. So again, haven't read the books at all, but you could still see the intersectional feminism that permeates through this entire series. Mm-hmm. And as you say, the main character feels like a side character.
Yeah.
And girl boss, well, I guess I should be specific. The main girl boss, I don't know her name.
Moraine
feels like the main character. She's on all the promotional material, and she does all the saving. She moves all the chess pieces. She knows all the information.
They go into detail about her backstory and history in this episode, where it's revealed that you meet her sister, which never happens in the books. Okay, and you're right that the key big part of this episode is Moraine saving Rand. Okay,
and just what you told me while we were watching this episode. Sorry to spoil some of this review ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. I think we all know this. And
none of this happens in the book.
Nothing.
Right? And what was the Forsaken?
Okay, so if you're watching the show, they wouldn't know who the Forsaken is yet, but it's revealed in this episode that Selene is a Forsaken.
And not just a Forsaken. The most powerful Forsaken.
Yes. Moraine goes, there's a specific line that Moraine says that Lanfear is the most powerful Forsaken. That's not in the books. Lanfear is a powerful Forsaken, but not the most powerful. And people might argue, well, it's because she's the most dangerous because of how manipulative she is and she plays both sides and all these things. It's like, no. The line is, she is the most powerful. I think it might even be most dangerous. It might have been most dangerous. All right? That was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And why do you think Lanfear is now the most dangerous Forsaken when all these other Forsaken were really...
she's a woman.
There we go.
There we go. So I've watched so much of this crap now that I can identify like deviations from the source material, even if I haven't read the source material.
Really?
It's that obvious. It's that basic. Mm-hmm. And I asked you to the showrunner's name, which was
Rafe Judkins.
I asked like what kind of experience he had prior to doing this high fantasy. Robert Jordan's got a few fans.
Large budget as well.
Yep.
Like you would think this would be an important show that so many fans are wanting this thing adapted, right?
For years.
Yeah. And so you'd think you would approach it with some respect. Yeah. And what upsets me most about what Rafe Judkins has done, he went in specifically to inject his own agenda. Mm-hmm. He says, I'm going to be injecting my feminist agenda into this, okay? Even though that's not a word-for-word quote, that's what he says, effectively. He went in there to push an agenda, and also, this episode encapsulates one of my biggest complaints. I lost the plot in season 1, episode 5, where they made up an entire episode that wasn't in the books, right? And they were saying they had to cut things from the books because they didn't have enough time. If they didn't have enough time to fit all the stuff in the books, why the hell are you making up new crap that isn't even in there? So this thing that they don't have enough time to fit it in is bull crap. And this episode is, out of season 2, this episode is the largest diversion from the books to the point where I don't even think a single scene, there was a single accurate thing in the books in this whole episode.
In an entire episode in the second season.
It's all made up.
And, main girl boss, what's her name again?
Moraine.
You said she wasn't in the books that they're kind of supposed to, that they're completely ignoring right now?
Well, book 2, she barely appears at all. She's not in book 2 much at all. And in book 3, she's there, but definitely side character role. And book three in particular, right? The main kind of viewpoint that we're following that Moraine is present in is Perrin. You know, Perrin, like he's the wolf guy, right?
Yep.
He's traveling with Moraine in book 3, and we are mostly following what's going on with Perrin, and Moraine is a side character in Perrin's story, just there kind of being the ice and eye. All right? And so she is very much a big side character. Perrin was supposed to be the main character in those scenes, and you saw the 3 male characters in this. How much did they appear in the episode?
I'd say a grand total of 5 minutes.
Maybe 5 minutes, yeah. These are the scenes of Perrin and Matt. Rand was a little bit more at the end.
A little bit more, but he was a manzel in distress.
Yes, he was. And so in terms of adaptation, it's dog crap. In terms of interest, though, like if this was just an interesting show that you could get hooked in, you know, there might be something there, and you don't have to be hooked on the books or you know, because a lot of people want a good adaptation. They get upset if it's not a good adaptation. Their question is that a good show on its own merits?
No, absolutely not. I've seen more complex episodes of The Vampire Diaries. I have. I mean, I'll go to Buffy, which, and this is a problem with prestige television now, is if it's not intriguing in the first few episodes and you don't get that audience in the first few episodes, it never has a chance. Like this show has no chance of going 5 seasons. The only thing keeping it going is Amazon's pride.
Yeah, exactly. It would be a vanity project that they just can't give up because they're too arrogant to admit that they have screwed up so epically on this show. Because barely anyone's watching it. Like the interest on this thing is nearly zip, apart from the die-hard activists who got on board with season 1 because it towed the party line so well. Oh, it's so diverse. It's the feminist wet dream high fantasy show, which was not the books, by the way, but because they took this property and turned it into that, oh my gosh, the Reddit nutcase activists love this show, and they are doing damage control like you wouldn't believe. And it's for, I guess, not having to take the criticisms of the woke mob that they would keep it going.
I wouldn't want to spread conspiracy theories here on Night's Watch, but I would just say if you're a giant $1 trillion corporation who's put millions of dollars in a giant vanity project, it probably wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that you would bot the hell out of Reddit or have a third-party company maybe kind of falsely inflate any kind of interest that clearly isn't really there in the real world for this show, which is getting promoted. I'm seeing Wheel of Time stuff.
Yeah.
Saw it around London.
Yeah,
I saw it in the tube.
Yeah.
But nobody's really talking about it. Like, and not in our sphere.
I made a
Other
tweet.
than you and Disparu.
We had an experience here that kind of confirmed the level of interest in Wheel of Time here at our B&B. And I tweeted about this. We turned on the television here, which has Prime installed, and it has people's user profiles already present on the profile. And so we clicked on one, and what was his name?
Brad. Our man Brad.
We clicked on Brad's profile, and wouldn't you know it, it showed Wheel of Time or continue watching. Like someone had started Wheel of Time, now watching. It's like, Brad, you started watching it. So we clicked on the Wheel of Time, and it showed how much of it he had watched.
About a quarter of it, maybe.
A quarter of the first episode of the first season, and nothing else. He dipped completely.
Brad.
You champion. After 10 minutes, he was just like, I'm out of this crap. And so that's how popular this is. And this is just a random, anecdotal example, but I think it's actually, it's stating something of a larger truth, and that is how little people are caring about the show because it's bad. Separate to the books, it is astronomically boring. X-Ray Girl was watching this with us. She's was hanging out with us. And X-Ray Girl, did you want to share a comment on this episode?
The back of my eyelids are more interesting.
She basically fell asleep.
She fell asleep. She was going over Twitter.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then we will be breaking down, because that's what we do here at Night's Watch, and my wife will probably be joining me for that portion of this review, is the details of this episode are stupid beyond belief. Like, even if you were divorced from the source material, there are some really dumb things that happen, especially at the end of the episode where there's the Deus Ex save from off screen.
Yeah. Which we can all see coming from Girl Boss to save Rand from the Forsaken, who's supposed to be, according to you, and according to many of the fans out there who I respect, a beautiful young woman, one of the most beautiful things that looks like his mom.
Lanfear literally is described in the books as Loyal that makes this observation, having perfect human beauty. Okay? Youthful, perfect human beauty. And Gary's description of Celine, which is now revealed in this episode as Lanfear, is perfect. You were like looking at this relationship, it's like, is he going out with his mom?
Yeah. There's a lot of square-jawed women talking about their feelings in this episode, and middle-aged women, by the way. Nothing wrong with it. She's not ugly, but I wouldn't call her like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And like, only one character have they cast well, and it's the redhead that was talking with the other girl in the white dress. Her name is Elaine, and she's supposed to be a knockout, and I think they cast her pretty well. But that's like the only one. The Aes Sedai, which are the middle-aged women everywhere who are casting the magic, there's plot points in this episode of the fact that they don't age. They're saying they age slower.
Yeah.
They're actually supposed to have a timeless look on their face. When you look at them, you can't tell if they're young or mature. It's like this uncanny valley that they're actually supposed to have. But instead of going with
Like
that,
elves.
kind of like us, what they should have done, right, is they should have cast young actresses for all the Aes Sedai and made makeup to make them look slightly more mature, and that would work really well for the later plot points. Instead, this is such a significant point in the books where you can tell an Aes Sedai if you know what to look for. It's like, oh, that's the ageless face, you're an Aes Sedai. It's everywhere because Aes Sedai sometimes have to hide who they are, and so it fulfills an important plot in the overall story. In this show, they just cast all middle-aged and older women, and it's like, because why? I don't
know. Well, casting limitations. Don't want to get too much into the details, but because of the casting limitations put down by Amazon and now all the award shows, there are young actors and actresses who do look. Matt Smith is a great example of a young guy who looks old.
Yeah.
And kind of can fit both.
Perfect.
There's people out there you can cast, but they're not free to cast whoever they want, nor do they want to. It's not even free. It's a desire.
Well, as an explicitly, and they have said this, feminist show. They said this is, got Rafe Judkins' feminist agenda in on it, right? I have a feeling that they think casting an attractive, lots of attractive young women where the Aes Sedai would usually fall into, would attract the male gaze too much.
Yeah.
And that's
might help the show a little bit.
Yeah, it might help the show. Did you have any other thoughts to share on the show?
I will never watch it again. I'll read the books. I'll go read the books.
The books are great. The books are phenomenal. But dude, thanks for joining me for this part of the
Cheers.
That's a great jacket.
This is a nice jacket. I can't wait to take it home and show it off.
So now we're going to be going through a more scene-by-scene breakdown, as we usually do. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Lady. How are you?
Good. I've taken over NERDROTIC, and we'll do the breakdown now.
Before we do, though, what are your overall thoughts of this episode?
I believe this is my least favourite out of all of them, and that's saying something because this is not a great series.
It's not a great
at all. But this one didn't have resemblances to the book, except very, very slightly, as in they had the characters and they had locations, but the scenes didn't line up at all.
There were some huge betrayals of character in this episode.
Yes.
I mean, big, right? And not only that, so many of the scenes in this episode, all of them basically, were just made up bullcrap.
Yeah, they weren't even adjusted scenes. They were completely made up.
Completely new. And before we kind of saw repurposed dialogue here and there, where this is all just made up. And they are trying to push the plot somewhat in a direction
where it needs to be.
And that's the girls now leaving the tower. It took them 4 episodes, and technically they still haven't left. They've just been knocked out, all right? 4 episodes to finally get to the part which we were waiting ages to. And so, finally, the plot actually started to move somewhere. It's traveling at a snail's pace. This episode is talking about feelings. Just like And a lot of it is just boring and it's going nowhere. Lynn, my bond, where am I going to go? How would I do it? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, well, it was so bad going through the arches. And then Moraine was talking about, they're going into Moraine's backstory and past with her sister and everything like that. Like, this is completely irrelevant to the story of the books. And they're devoting an entire episode making up new crap, robbing us from the story that we got from the books. It's the biggest crime I've complained against this show from season 1, and they're doubling it down and doing it even more in season 2. And I can't stand it. Sorry. Continue.
Well, you were saying that we've taken so long to get to this point.
Yes.
Each episode's an hour. It's taken 4 hours to get them close to leaving the tower.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the boys are all pretty much in the same state as
Yes.
this 4 hours started.
Except maybe Perrin. So Matt has finally, he escaped, but it wasn't about Matt, it was about Min. All
Yes.
right? Matt didn't have anything of significance in this episode. Perrin finally got to talk a little bit about being a wolf brother, and it's just talking. Whereas in the books, he actually starts to interact with the wolves separately, and it's just done so much better with how that is, how Perrin is introduced to Elias. And then the stuff with Rand. I mean, they've achieved nothing in the previous 3 episodes. Rand, and that was him meeting Logain. And so now they're exploring the relationship he has with Selene further. And at the beginning of this episode, I'm still wondering, why the hell is Rand in love with Selene? He actually says he loves her.
Yes.
Where did they get there in that relationship? It cuts to them in the season 1 and they're already banging and we don't have any reason why they have a relationship at all. And he loves her. It's what is going on? And so now Selene is like taking him to the mountains, and we'll get to the specifics.
We'll get to that, yeah.
But it's just stupid. Moving at a snail's pace, like you said. Snail's pace, yes. Anything else?
No,
All right.
that's it.
Well, we'll continue. So the episode starts with Ishamael breaking one of the seals and letting Lanfear free. And it's revealed that this is actually Lanfear at the end of the episode. I mean, look, in the books, the seals were weakening, not because of the Forsaken, it was the influence of the Dark One. And
the seals hadn't been done perfectly, and so they just gradually wore down in a weird kind of way.
Well, this is the law, okay? The show is trying to depict it that each seal is in a physical location that is entrapping one of the Forsaken. That's not how not the books. In the books, the seals were actually smaller disc-like things that
could be moved.
They could be moved, right? And they were the seals over the Dark One's prison. And because the Forsaken were trapped near the Dark One's prison, as those seals to his prison were breaking, they were just breaking free themselves.
Yeah, like peeling an onion. It was just
Exactly.
like another layer was gone, so another one was loose.
Yeah, that's right. And the Forsaken that was like furthest away or close to the surface, he ended up aging drastically and his face became all
And he could
haggard.
influence the world a bit more than the others could do nothing.
And he was one of the first that got free. And so I'm not opposed to this change necessarily, but what I am opposed to is him being able to destroy Quaindia, because that's what the seals are made out of.
Because they've already established that it's not, even in the Age of Legends, they couldn't break it.
Yeah, and he's just using magic power to break Quaindia, and so
by himself and just doing it. Yeah.
He just has the power. And so that's Ishamael doing it here, just breaking it, really dark. You can barely see anything happening. And then Lanfear slowly rises like some monster thing, and that's the intro. Out of context, you don't know what's going on. Then we introduce this woman. This woman is the she was
a noblewoman that spoke to Rand at the ball party.
It's revealed she is Moraine's sister.
Yeah, so in this, Moraine is supposed to be the older sister.
Yeah.
But Moraine only has older sisters and half sisters.
Yeah. The whole plot line with this woman is completely pointless and ultimately achieves nothing. It's all there to, again, it's for Rafe Judkins to indulge himself, right? This is about his show, making all the changes to the book, and he thinks this is, we're being so, like, great storytelling. We're exploring Moraine's past and her family, and don't you want to know No, we don't want to know about Moraine's past and family. We wanted to see her do stuff that is in the books, especially if exploring her past and family achieves no purpose in the plot at all. Like, this is a complete waste of time. It's filler bullcrap, which is why this episode is so darn boring. The whole plot of this, interaction with her sister is that somehow Moraine doesn't have control over her eyes and ears in Kyrian, which is nonsense. Moraine has been doing this for, 50 years or something?
20 years.
That's just looking for Rand, I think. But they're implying that she's been doing this.
No, she's been Aes Sedai for 20 years, I believe.
Even in the show?
I believe so.
Because they show this old lady, a young girl, in a painting where Moraine is the same age. That's implying that she has been an Aes Sedai for like 80 years or more in the show. 50 if I was to be, try and minimize it. So that alone doesn't make sense because she was only supposed to be raised to the...
Well, into an Aes Sedai, she still had to go through being a novice and an accepted, which does take time.
But my point is, Moraine has been working with her eyes and ears constantly through the time she's been an Aes Sedai. If she at any point found out that they're not responding to her in Kyrian because her sister now has control of them, she would have gone to Kyrian and sorted it out. It's just like just learning now that she suddenly doesn't have control of her eyes and ears is complete bullcrap nonsense because that means she wouldn't... There's no way she wouldn't have been able to find that out if she was actively trying to use them at any point. And so...
But that we find out a little bit later. Right here, she comes in, starts giving orders to the servant, one of which is to get that wine in particular that we noticed that Rand was after for Logain in the previous episode. So she's already got that in mind, that she needs that wine for him, and then just walks away from her sister without any sort of reunion or anything. She's just mean.
It's purpose to get wine to meet Logain. But again... The reason why I'm skipping over it, because it achieves nothing. It's pointless.
That's all that part was for.
And to save us having to go through bit by bit in the later scenes with her sister, the point of it is the sister says, stay out of my business. I control your eyes and ears. And then somehow Moraine gets information as to where Rand is, that Rand is with the Forsaken, which, how did she find that out? And they basically just ignore that plot point that she doesn't have control of the eyes and ears to find out where Rand is. Assumedly, Moraine...
Yeah, she had not... It shows no way of why she ended up in Kyrian.
Yeah, what it does, when the show establishes that she doesn't have control over her spies, the show then supposedly would need a scene of Moraine finding out or getting control of the spies again to find out where Rand is. That's the point. Moraine is looking for Rand. She just looks to her regular contacts, doesn't get information, finds out her sister has the information, and then nothing. The next scene, she has the information and she found Rand. So all the build-up about the sister learning about the sister controlling the spies achieves nothing in the plot. The plot literally establishes that she doesn't have control of the spies, therefore can't find out where Rand is unless she does something with her sister. They ignore that completely and then skips the point where she knows where Rand is.
But somehow she knows Rand's in the city already, before any of this comes up. She's gone to Logain and she asks about Rand.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to demonstrate is the plot is bullcrap. It is making no sense at all. No. And then for some unbeknownst reason, Moraine knows that the random bartender Rand has been shagging for the last 5 months is the Forsaken. How the hell did Moraine find that out? Like nothing is revealed in the plot. She just magically knows it. And by the way, no one in this age knows what the Forsaken look like.
So the only thing that would possibly give it away that they didn't even mention as a possibility was when Selene/Lanfear starts channeling. It's not the pretty colours of the Aes Sedai or even of Rand. It's this weird misty stuff. And so it looks different. And that's the closest thing you get to a hint of maybe this chick's a bit sus.
So Moraine, this is at the end of the episode. Moraine busts in on Rand and Selene is straddling him, ready to do something kinky by the look of it. And then she starts to begin to channel and she says, I'm a monster too.
And she starts channeling, but it's not any of the colours that they've shown
we
mostly
actually have no idea what she was intending to do here. And Moraine, I'm trying to figure out what context Moraine would have from seeing that to get the leap that that's Lanfear.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nothing. There's nothing there. It's complete nonsense, stupid bullcrap. And when we get to the scene where Rand is, again, talking with Selene, this isn't Selene, okay? This is not the character. In the books, Selene is constantly trying to... So the mere fact that Rand is sleeping with Selene is a massive assassination of his character and a complete flip. Selene is constantly trying to seduce Rand, and Rand never falls for her seduction throughout the entire books. And it's a credit to his character that he doesn't. Okay, it shows that he has standards for the people that he sleeps with and has relationships with. Now, Rand, he's just shagging up with any random innkeeper because we don't know. We didn't see how their relationship began.
We don't see that they have a relationship beyond that.
Exactly. This relationship seems like just vain sex, basically. But then he confesses his love for her, and we don't know why. All right? And it's this woman, now we can, because it's revealed in the episode, is one of the most evil beings in the world. It's Lanfear, one of the Forsaken. Having Rand sleep with one of the Forsaken is such a complete betrayal of his character. And, like, why? What is the purpose? What are they trying to achieve out of this? It is so dumb. And it's going to really cheapen the relationships he builds and has later on, because Rand does fall in love with a couple of women, right? And those relationships are really important. But now, Rand, he just shags up with anyone, even a Forsaken. And also Selene, she is not trying to tempt him into power. That's not, her main interactions with Rand in book 2 was to finding the horn will give you great glory. And she wants Rand to get all this power because she does want to seduce him, control him, and everything like that. There's nothing like this.
And she doesn't want a little farmer boy.
Yeah, so far, Selene has done nothing evil in her interactions with Rand at this point.
No.
Is she supposed to be evil or not? Is she supposed to be Lanfear? So, by showing her having some questionable kind of motives would tee us off and kind of give us Rand, you probably don't want to be in a relationship. No, they're going out of their way to actually make this relationship seem like it means something to Rand. He confesses his love to her. So, that's been my reaction. When I saw this, I can't believe they've done this. This is such a massive contradiction on the books. It's unbelievable.
And we do apologise, guys. We are kind of going back and forth through the episode because little itty-bitty scenes relate to later.
Yeah.
And so we're not really doing it in order except for we are...
Because I don't think we need to go into every detail. I want to hit the big points. And
these are the big points. And so we help cover that by going through it.
And so much of it is boring. Like this episode with Nynaeve. She gets up, she's sad, she talks to Egwene. Egwene is sad, how do you feel? And she is having such continued trauma of the Archers. Nynaeve, when she comes out of the Archers, she has a cry. That was bad. And then she sucks it up and gets on with life. They are dragging out the narrative, the story plot of her in the Archers, now beyond that episode.
Now, I didn't have as big of an issue with the whole fact of trauma because the way they portrayed it was that she felt that she'd been in there for years and it wasn't kind of skip flicker. That's the error right there, though. She should have been in there for years. No, because in the book, it kind of starts with her with a child and married. Mm-hmm. And so she's only been there for a small bit. So she hasn't got the memories of raising the child and going through all those years and that attachment. And so she still is super mad and upset, but there's a lot less trauma. And so as far as what they've made her experience, yes, she should have some trauma for that.
I think so, but I always got the feeling that the experience in the Archers fades away, and she even says it's kind of fading, right? But then they drag it on for so much, and this is why it annoys me, right? So much of this episode is just people talking about their feelings, and that's why it gets boring, and nothing really significant happens in the plot. I'm not saying you can't have characters talk about their feelings, but do it when it actually matters, okay? They could have easily showed some additional trauma that she's struggling with, and you didn't even need to do it in text about people talking their feelings. Have her trying to get along with things. Have a flashback. She, you have a
she could even
face of
see a
pain.
girl run by and stop, look, and then have a flash of the daughter she lost.
And you could combine
and that would be moving on.
Exactly. And you can combine that with her actually doing something more significant, which would be more engaging. And then you're making the scene do double lifting, multiple things in one scene.
Yes.
And it's like the writers don't know how to make a scene serve more than one purpose. And it's like, they don't have that talent. So this scene just has to be talking about feelings because they can't show the feelings. Show versus tell. No, they got to tell them. And it's like they don't have that ability. And so there's that scene. And guess what? Happens again with Lan. Lan, by the way, most stoic character ever written. Multiple scenes dedicated.
Has multiple scenes of feelings.
Of him feeling sad. Yes. Okay? And I know that the water bond is supposed to be broken and to be going through turmoil. Lan wouldn't talk about that. He would suffer in silence, and you would start to see indications in his behavior. Again, complete betrayal of Lan.
And so here, in one of these scenes, it's mentioned, like it's said that Moraine broke the bond.
Yeah, I wonder where they're going with that. Because there is a question: is Moraine actually stilled or not? And if she's shielded,
and what does stilling do in this world that they have created? Because this is not the typical. Yeah. Because typically, if they are stilled, the water bond is broken. They no longer have to tell the truth. They are pretty much loose from all their promises and things.
Yes, yeah.
And a whole lot of things change. But Moraine repeatedly says, I can't lie.
She has said that multiple times, and so that's going to have it in very important thing. If she's shielded, she can't lie, but if she's stilled, she can, and so we'll have to wait and see where that goes in regards to that plot point. But again, this whole scene is just boring fluff filler about what's Lan going to do. And by the way, did this episode establish anything of what Lan is going to do? Is he going to go and see Nynaeve?
Well, he's told one that Nynaeve's supposed to be going through the arches and will be looking for a water soon, but he's also told that he could follow Moraine if he wanted to.
You could establish this in a couple of sentences of dialogue, but they drag it out with multiple mopey scenes of just boring filler. Again, season 2 is full of this crap, where they have just dragged out so much boring crap, where we're up to episode 4 and it feels like we've barely achieved anything.
Right, and it has parts of this whole feelings thing with Lan is that it's implying that he doesn't know what she's doing, what her motivations are, and what sort of things changed her years ago, where he's, with her for the long haul and knows pretty much everything she's doing, with only a few exceptions where she's not ready to share yet. He's in it with her non-stop almost.
So once again, another boring scene. This is Moraine reflecting upon her past. Again, injecting new story that wasn't in the books that we don't want to see. And everything new that we see here is just stuff that we now don't get. Is story we don't get from the books that we would have wanted to see.
Right.
It's been replaced with Rafe Judkins' own indulgence in a separate plot point. And so that's that scene. She meets with Logain. Once again, this was a bit weird, where she basically is trying to say this was part of her plot to get Rand to go to Logain, and Logain would teach him. Logain would teach Rand. How the hell did she manipulate that? She didn't send Rand.
I know.
Rand, go to Kyrian and make sure you meet with this wasn't manipulated.
It seems that she manipulated it so Logain would go there instead of being tested by Yellow Sisters or Red Sisters or whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow she had him sent to Kyrian.
Logain did. But how did she manipulate for Rand to go here? It's just magic Moraine
manipulation stuff.
Yeah, no way that.
And so now she wants to know where he is.
Oh.
And somehow Logain knows.
And by the way, once again, they've made Moraine so evil here. So basically, the way that Moraine is bartering with Logain here, Logain is, it's not stilled for men, it's gentle. Logain has been gentled, and her bartering, now because he's gentle, he wants to die. He wants to commit suicide. And Moraine is going to give Logain a dagger so he can commit suicide if Logain teaches Rand. That is vile and evil in the extreme. Instead of helping him find purpose to live, right? It's like, what if she says...
It's you could guide the Dragon Rebellion and save the world, give you purpose in your life.
It's not the end of your life. You can find something worth living for. She's like, yeah, just go and kill yourself. What a vile, disgusting person. And this is Moraine. So once again, assassinating a beloved character in the series. My gosh. All right. Next scene, and it's funny, this scene we're watching with Gary from NERDROTIC and X-Ray Girl, his observation was the acting was really bad in here. But wouldn't you know, once again, what type of scene is this? Another scene of people talking about their feelings. Oh my gosh. I don't even remember what they're talking about now.
They're talking about, Egwene's got her hurt feelings because she's trying to be there for Nynaeve, and Nynaeve is trying to do things herself.
Yep.
And
it's
Elaine's trying to give her a counsel again of just back off a little.
And it makes Egwene look selfish once again because Egwene wants to make it all about her.
Yeah.
Interesting observation by Mark the Cyborg, who was also watching this episode with us, and it's a correct observation. He had only seen this episode and is like, are they reusing sets? Yeah, they are. Only from a couple of scenes of this episode, he could tell how blatantly they are just reusing constant sets in this. It's like, do they even have a budget? It makes it look really, really cheap as a result. Okay, and so I nearly flipped out because I thought Nynaeve was going to go and train with the Waters more, and I was like, don't you? But no, instead,
she's looking for Lyanna's two Waters.
Yeah,
because she hadn't been aware that.
Maybe she was trying to train with them then.
Maybe because she was looking for those two,
you're right.
And those two have left recently because they're now with Lan.
Mm-hmm. Liandrin, this is her finding out about the attack of Falmer, and instead of they said, in book 2 it was Rand being in danger, and it was a lie. Liandrin lied that Rand was in danger. Now it's Perrin in danger, but it's not a lie. Like, she gets a legitimate report that Perrin and Loyal had been attacked by the Shonshen. And so everything is being set up that this is actually not her being devious, and yet at the end of the episode where she knocks them all out, it's like, okay, is she just, are they spent so much time with Liandrin, building her character, trying to make her sincere and all this bullcrap, right? To just do the same thing in the books? What was the point of giving all this time and screen to Liandrin when we could have seen Rand, Perrin, or Matt?
Yeah.
For her to just do the same thing. So it's infuriating.
Yeah, so she gets the news about the invasion. She goes and sees the keeper.
The keeper of the stall.
Yeah.
Again, this is like making Liandrin look like
normal
not an evil
person.
character. Yeah, a normal person. And her telling Nynaeve about Perrin being attacked and stuff, it's like, that's not a lie. In the books,
she knows
she
they've
was
got a
lying.
connection, and yeah.
So why are they making that not a lie anymore? Because it is, well, look, spoilers, you might be able to figure it out. Well, they might change this completely in the show, by the way.
Spoilers for the book.
Spoilers for the books, but I mean, you're going to get things spoiled for the books if you watch the show anyway. Not much, because they're changing things so much. Liandrin is a dark friend in the books, and she literally manipulates the 3 girls, towards Falmer and sells them into slavery to the Shonshen. This is vile evil in the extreme. And so Liandrin hated the girls from the get-go because she's a dark friend and she hates Wilders and all that stuff. And we've spent nearly 3 episodes trying to get to know Liandrin because she is a more important character than Rand, Matt, or Perrin. Suddenly, a side character who is a villain. To do what seemingly the same thing that she does in the books.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. So anyway, there's that scene. Oh, now Perrin finally gets some education about the wolves.
Yeah.
And they need to do this way early on. So, I don't mind the visions, they're kind of showing the images that the wolves project.
Ascending, yeah.
That's not how Perrin should be able to sniff the past. Perrin shouldn't be able to sniff the past, but they're kind of marrying the vision-seeing thing together. And so at least they're trying to do something accurate to the books, but it's not the correct scene, and it's not the correct way he's introduced to Hopper either.
Yeah, and so he asks about, if it's because of the Shonshen that he left them. It's like, well, why didn't you warn us?
Exactly. I have a note of that. They make Elias an evil bastard, basically. So Perrin finds out that Elias figured out the Shonshen were about to attack the village. And just left. And Perrin's like, why didn't you warn us? And then Elias says, are you in chains? Meaning he saved Perrin, but he let everyone else in the village die when he could have stopped him.
Well, not everybody died, but Uno did.
Uno died.
Uno could have been alive. But he didn't care about Uno because Uno wasn't a wolf brother.
So Elias intentionally didn't help out the villagers and only Perrin.
Yeah.
Elias is a scumbag now. Thank you for ruining another character, Rafe Judkins. And I think that's all we get to see of Perrin this whole episode, who's a main character, by the way. Another scene of sad Lan.
Yep.
And by the way, Lan can be sad, but he's stoic. You wouldn't show it. So mopey sad Lan is, again, so frustrating. And basically, this is where they start to talk about the water bond. A bit.
Yeah.
And how, like, is this where the line where Moraine broke the bond?
Yeah, and also that it had been masked for 6 months before that.
Yeah, yeah. This could have been, again, the information that you want to get from this scene could have been integrated with something more active, more dynamic, more interesting, but they can't do that. They can only focus on one thing at a time and drag it out. Moraine, again, trying to meet her spies. She's not getting much information. And now the scene with Rand and Selene, who we later find out is Lanfear. She was saying that they're going to a cabin. They get there. There's no cabin there. If I was
so they've kind of just stopped along the way for a view and to chat.
But then there is a cabin later on.
It's somewhere else.
But she said, I lied. I didn't come up here as a child.
Yeah, she came with a lover.
A lover. Okay, so maybe there was a cabin. Again, like, this scene right here is, if you love the books, it would infuriate you. Rand snuggling up to Lanfear and not resisting her seduction. Oh my gosh. And I think this is where, I don't know, he says he loves her in one of these scenes.
Yeah, not this one. This one, he's talking about home and she's like, why don't you go back? And he's like, oh, the wheel doesn't let you choose. And she's like, well, if you want something, just take it.
Yeah, so mate, that's kind of in line with...
That's the closest you get to the real Lanfear.
But also, this is the scene where Gary said, she looks like his mum. Like, there is a distinct age difference, clearly. So, Rand snogging up with Lanfear. The only scene we have with Matt, but this is the thing, this scene isn't about Matt.
No, this scene is about Min.
Min is the more important character than Matt.
And it's got Matt dicing, but he's repeatedly losing.
He's losing. So he doesn't even have his luck yet, even though his luck comes in after his Shield of the Dagger.
And so what part of... Okay, now, think about this. Through the 2 seasons so far, what part of all that has implied that Matt is a Ta'veren?
Nothing.
Nothing has changed around him.
Yeah. He's not influencing the pattern at all.
No.
The assassination of Matt is probably some of the largest of this whole show, but they're not done assassinating characters because, remember, this thing's about Min.
Yeah.
And so how could they assassinate... By the way, nothing... Again, every time I see Min, it's like my impression hits me. This is not Min. This is nothing what Min looks like. I can't stand that they... nothing against the actress, but it is one of the worst castings for a character book I've seen. Flat. And so... Basically, it's found out Min is meeting someone. You'll find out who she meets later on. This scene, so it's the next scene. Nynaeve, still sad about the pillars. They could have done and dusted that like the books and moved on, but they're dragging it out. And then they actually have a scene where...
And look who she confides in. Not her friend of many, many years.
Yes. Leandrin.
Yeah.
Again, episode 4, and they are still devoting even more scenes and time to like fleshing out and making Leandrin a more prominent character than Matt.
And I actually have in this, finally, because I'm thinking, oh, they're about to leave the tower. No, that hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't even happened yet.
No, I thought it was going to go straight into it, but no, got to drag that out.
And finally, after like a heart-to-heart where she talks about, losing things and how bad it is, how tough it is to be an Aes Sedai, then she drops the thing about...
Oh, by the way, your friends are in danger.
Yeah, by the way, your friends are in danger.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. In the books, Leandrin barely has anything to do with him, and then she comes through and says...
She barges into their room, and she sends Elaine away and said, I need to talk to you too.
Yep, you're going to meet me here. Why? I'm an Aes Sedai. Do as you're told.
Your friends are in danger. You need to come.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
And because they're in the tower, they have to obey an Aes Sedai, and the friends are in danger, so they listen and go. It's that easy. But instead, they spend 4 episodes diverting character progression, plot progression to just Leandrin's backstory.
Yeah.
So that's that scene. Again, Lan being sad and mopey.
Yeah. And they're like, is it something she said? What did she say that's got you going over and over in your thoughts?
This episode is just so boring. And it was one of the lamest jokes here as well, where it's like, we're old and wise. And Lan's like, well, one of those things are true. And it's just, it's horrible writing.
And then the poem is discovered amongst land stuff who stole it from Moraine stuff, and everybody goes through each other's stuff here.
Yeah, and so it's the message is saying that Lanfear is free, implying that Moraine knows that Lanfear is free. That doesn't mean Moraine is going to figure out and know who Lanfear is, just that Lanfear is
Or
free.
where she is.
And they repurposed the poem that was written in blood, was it?
Yeah.
By the Trollocs, Blood for Blood, something like that, which is not, imagine, the books, that poem is written in blood on the wall with like severed heads around and everything like that. A bit more impactful than a middle-aged woman reading from a note. It's just like, oh my gosh. All right, so then this is where Moraine's
This is where she
backstory-
finds out that she has no more eyes and ears around the city.
Because her sister has control of the spies.
And basically says, if you want the information, have tea with me and ask nicely.
But it implied that she needed to do something more to get that information. And those eyes and ears, how would those eyes and ears know the exact position of where Rand and all they would have known is they left the city.
Yeah.
How do they, like, if Moraine had Lan with her, maybe she could have tracked him. But Moraine shouldn't know how to track people. But Moraine magically will find out exactly where Rand is. Because Moraine is just amazing. She can do anything. The power of women in the show, basically.
And so with this scene, Nynaeve barges in on Elaine and Gwaine. Instead of Leandrin barging in and being rude, Nynaeve barges in and being rude.
Yeah. And she sends Elaine away, which, okay, and then Elaine ends up following them anyway. That makes sense. And this is where Leandrin appears, right? And instead of leading them through the ways, she just used the power to knock them all out. And now...
But what does she say? I'm sorry for this.
Yes.
What?
She says, so you are a complication.
To Elaine.
To Elaine. And then Leandrin... Because evil characters are just misunderstood, you see. No one can be truly evil anymore. And she, I'm sorry for this. And then knocks them all out. So they're probably going to wake up.
So now she has to deal with 3 limp figures.
Yeah, drag them along.
And drag them with the power or physically along.
Through
Instead of just talking to them and saying, look, I'll help you, I understand you, and help your friends. Come this way.
Yeah.
And she's been sweet talking Nynaeve for so long, you would think she'd be like, oh, okay, thank you, Leandrin Sedai.
They're probably just going to wake up near Falmer.
Yeah.
And not know how they got there. And Leandrin will have just magically dumped them. We'll see in the next episode.
Yeah.
But there we go. Leandrin's betrayal finally happened. And it took 4 episodes to get there. And needless backstory and bullcrap with exploring Leandrin doing stuff. All right, so this is where they assassinate Min, because they're not done. They're not done assassinating.
So Min, in the previous scene, was told the barkeep she was expecting somebody. She wasn't sure who, but when they arrived, to send them up to the attic.
Yep. The person has arrived. Min gets some flashbacks of her past. And then, who appears after the flashbacks? It's the Forsaken.
Chainmail. What?
It's actually Chainmail. And Chainmail basically tells Min to betray Matt, and in payment, he will cure Min of her visions.
Yeah, so apparently Min's whole motivation with working with Leandrin is to stop the visions that make her who she is.
Min would never betray Matt, good people, friends, right? Even just good people, let alone to a bloody Forsaken. He says to Min in the scene that he's a Forsaken, all right? That's basically saying I'm the devil, by the way, and Min is selling her soul to one of the most evil beings in the world for her own convenience, right? Because she is a horrible, selfish character now, but I can't believe this. Min would die before doing this.
Yeah, she would have had her daggers out by now and be throwing them.
Exactly. I can't believe what they're doing to the characters in this show. It's absolutely disgusting. But there we go. They can't, everyone has to be morally ambiguous. The villains, the truly evil people, they're just misunderstood. We have to have sympathy for the villains, and we can't have true good people or good heroes.
And so now they're trying to get the 3 boys back in the one location. We haven't figured out how they're getting pairing yet.
Yeah.
But now they're sending Matt to Kyrian because the Forsaken want him there.
You know what could have worked well to get Matt to Kyrian? Someone tell Matt that Rand is alive and is in Kyrian and needs his help.
Or even that one of the girls is there.
Yeah.
Remember, he comes to the rescue. That's what he does.
But instead of Matt having any direction, Matt doesn't know what he wants to do anymore because he's a useless character in this, and it's Min that's going to be guiding him by the nose to get there. And so now Rand is snuggling up with Celine outside of a cozy cabin. We actually see a cozy cabin.
We have a nice warm cabin in the background, and they're sleeping outside by the fire.
No, we don't know why. It's just there. I thought he was in a dream. Like they went to sleep and in just the wilderness, and he wakes up in a dream, and there's a cabin there, and Celine Lanfear would be just doing something to tempt him. But no, this is the real world.
And it's not like they haven't built the set for the cabin, because they end up in there later. But right now, forget the cabin, we'll just sleep outside.
Yeah, it's almost like he's looking at the cabin in surprise, like where did it come from? But anyway, a Myrddraal appears out of nowhere, and I'm wondering, how the hell did the Myrddraal find out? Maybe it was Lanfear that sicked him onto him. Now, because it is revealed that Lanfear is Lanfear's here, right? The thing, okay, so even though we could explain how this Myrddraal gets here, I think Rand would be questioning this a lot. How did they find him? But instead, he kills the Myrddraal, right? And he's more concerned about Celine seeing him channel instead of being attacked by a friggin' Myrddraal.
Yeah, he's not looking for Trollocs. He's not looking for more Myrddraal. He doesn't care about the Fade. He's more worried about what she thinks.
Usually, if you have a Myrddraal, a Fade nearby, they got an army of Trollocs following them. Rand would be like, holy crap, they found us, we need it. Instead, Rand's like, I'm not a monster to Celine. And then Celine...
And he declares his love, basically.
Oh, yeah, he declares his love for her.
And so I have to leave because everybody that I love around me could die.
Yeah, basically. And Celine's like, oh, you're not, this is Rand. I didn't want you to see me as a monster. And Celine basically says, be yourself. They kiss and they go in to snuggle, let's say. And then, again, back to the scene of, I forget the Aes Sedai's name.
Lyanna,
yeah. Reading out the thing that Lanfear has escaped. And this is where they're really revealing to the audience, oh, this is probably Lanfear. If you hadn't read the books, I would be thinking, what's going on? Why is Rand in this relationship? How did they meet? But they don't show it. Anyway, so there's that. But Lanfear now basically says, you're not a monster. I'm a monster too. She starts doing weird channeling. Rand's like, what's happening? And this is like jumping the shark in the episode, right? There are layers of stupidity in what happens here. Moraine appears out of nowhere. She's just magically figured out where they were, stabs Lanfear through the heart with a sword. Right, ready?
Which I'm not even sure where that sword came from, honestly.
That's Rand's sword.
Yeah, but was he wearing it when they were going up to the cabin? I don't remember.
He had it in his hand outside when he tried to fight the Fade.
Oh, that's right, it got hit out of his hands. So she's picked up a sword with no noise and stabbed Lanfear.
Yep. Now, in the books, Forsaken can't survive being stabbed through the heart. They are still mortal. They just have incredible magical power that if they're aware, they can use to protect him. This would kill a Forsaken.
Though... Rand did fight Chainmail several times, and there was big wounds happening.
Yes, but that's mostly in Tala-an-Rhiod and the world of dreams most of the time. Like in the physical world, when a Forsaken
But if you die in Tala-an-Rhiod, you die.
Yes, but you never really see the death blow, really. Like he's getting consumed by power and he thinks he won.
There's fire and swords
and Chainmail returns like being scarred and burnt and everything. So
but does gradually heal.
Exactly.
And so they can heal, but usually with some help.
What I'm saying is a stab through the heart to the Forsaken, correct me that's dead. Like it should be dead. But Moraine says that will not kill a Forsaken. So, look, Rand does react appropriately because in Rand's mind, Moraine just murdered the woman he loved. So I'm thinking, Rand, you're going to want to kill Moraine for this. The Moraine just says, that's Lanfear. And then I was surprised, Rand, you're going to believe her that quickly? Like...
And she's like, remember, I can't lie. That's Lanfear. She's one of the most dangerous Forsaken. He's like, oh, okay.
Rand, that doesn't mean that she could be wrong. I know she could. Ace and I can be wrong, but think they're telling the truth, right? And throughout season 1, they did show Rand not trusting Moiraine and thinking Moiraine is trying to manipulate them and everything like that. And for Rand, who just saw the woman he loved be murdered by a woman he doesn't trust, tell him that that's an evil Forsaken.
And she hadn't even done anything to him until then. All she'd done is tie him up.
And start to, I don't know, vibrate with something. And he was saying, what are you doing? All that would really indicate is that Selene could channel, probably.
Yeah.
And Selene says, I'm a monster too. If, from Rand's perspective, Rand says, I'm a monster because I can channel. When Selene says, I'm a monster too, that would mean in context, she's just saying, I can channel too, essentially. And then she was probably going to cast some spell to have amazing sex. I have no idea. But that might have been what was going on. I'm saying it wasn't enough revealed in what Lanfear was doing to make Rand think, thank you, Moiraine, for killing this woman I loved. No. And now Moiraine is saying, that's a Forsaken.
Yeah.
And Rand's just like, okay. I'm like, are you retarded? So what's going on? It's astronomically stupid. And then, right, they have the shot. I'm not sure if we can even, because it could be too bloody for YouTube. So I might have to remove that. But Lanfear's basically not dead. From stabbed through the heart and a slit throat, she just is lying there. And
I don't know if that's a slit throat or pooling blood from the wound.
No, they showed Moiraine
slit
her throat. Slit her throat. And ready?
And she's like, oh, well, I'll recover.
Now she blinks and she's alive. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Oh, quick addition, because, oh my gosh, right? Moiraine says, that won't kill a Forsaken, stabbing it through the heart and slitting the throat. Okay, then, chop her head off. Rand, you just, incinerated a Fade. I blast her to infinity. She's at your mercy. She's down, weak, supposedly dead, but if not dead, that won't kill a Forsaken. Do whatever the hell you can to make sure the job is done. Not run away like a moron. And they, literally chop off the head or Rand, use your power, but instead they run away like idiots because they think, now, is that implying it's literally impossible to kill a Forsaken without, say, balefire or something? Holy crap. It's so stupid. And so, in the show, because they like to change whatever the hell they want, Forsaken can just survive what I don't bloody know now. Where are the stakes? It's absolute nonsense, and that's the end of the episode. Holy crap. This show, season 2, is just getting worse.
Yeah, it was an hour of feelings and made up stuff that wasn't in the book.
Holy crap. Wow. That was hard to get through. This one was boring, and then layered on top of the bull crap in it, I can't. And there's supposed to be, I thought they were doing the plot of 2 books. This is like they could only barely get through the plot of book 2 and not book 3. Because if they have only 8 episodes and we're only got this far in the plot...
We're halfway through and this doesn't feel like halfway through the book.
It's insane because now the girls are going to be captured and Rand is going to have to somehow get free and try and save them and there's a battle in... To me, with how glacially slow this show is going, that's the last 4 episodes, let alone... all the stuff in book 3 and getting to Tyr and then taking the Stone of Tyr.
I know. I feel like the best part of the book that should have taken up the most of this series was to do with Falmer.
You know what they might do? They might just skip nearly everything in book 3 and have the Stone of Tyr be in Falmer, and that's what Rand has to conquer to save.
No, because I haven't even mentioned it. Surely it's
You're
just
right.
Falmer.
You're probably right there.
It'll just be Falmer, but
so then they're only adapting book 2. Then this can't be.
Yeah, that won't touch book 3.
Okay, because holy crap, and even then they have cut so much from book 2 to inject.
It's almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, you're right, to be unrecognizable, and it's to inject their own made-up vanity bullcrap because they think they can do better than one of the most beloved fantasy series in the world, The Wheel of Time. This is the Amazon Prime Wheel of Time abomination made by Rafe Judkins. Well done. So, that's where episode 4. We'll see you on the next episode. And until then, stay on watch.
Subscribe to NERDROTIC.